What is up, my dashing dudes? I am the Hans TV, and I hope that y'all are ready for some hilariously infuriating entitlement, because we're diving back in to r/entitled people today. Our first post for the day comes from Chayla1331. This is why I cannot talk to normies. Okay, I met this guy twice, so backstory. In about 2012, I met this guy off of a chat line. We hooked up, then had breakfast the next morning. After breakfast, I dropped him off at the train station. Within 5 minutes of dropping him off, he proceeded to call me, telling me he missed me and loved me, after less than a day of knowing him. So, I stopped talking to him. Fast forward to about 2 years ago, he found me on POF. I figured we were young back then, so I decided to give him another chance. We did not hook up this time, but I met up with him and we talked. This turned out to be a huge mistake. Now, I am not atheist, but I am not religious either. I am Wiccan. Anyway, we were talking about how humans came to be. I told him that I do not know for sure if humans were created by God or if it was evolution, because I was not there when humans were created, as I was only born in 1984. He believes in evolution. Great. But then he proceeds to tell me that he took an intelligence test and that he is smarter than Stephen Hawking. This man works at a gas station and cannot afford child support for his child. I went to college and got a bachelor's degree in business. He then tells me that school is stupid and that he doesn't need a degree to prove how smart he is. I remind him that the great guys he keeps quoting, Hawking and Darwin, both went to prestigious colleges, and asked if he was better than them. He got upset and told me that this is why he doesn't talk to normies. Then he proceeded to call me a moron and actually said, "I can't believe I stuck my d***, it's stupid." Then said he uses a condom so that his intelligent sperm did not mix with a normie, because he couldn't stand the thought of stupid kids. I told him we were done talking and I thought that was the end of it. Unfortunately, he was not done. For months he kept messaging me for dinner or sex. Once he actually thought texting, "I could never have a relationship with someone who doesn't believe in evolution, but maybe I can f*** some scent into that brain," would get me to have dinner with him. I told him that he is ridiculous for believing that he is better than Stephen Hawking, since Stephen Hawking is successful and rich, and he is broke and works at a gas station. He went off on me, calling me a gold digger. I informed him that money isn't everything, and that being a decent person who doesn't call people names is more important than money. He told me he had a 5-year plan to become richer than Stephen Hawking, and I told him, good luck with that, and when you are rich, do not call me. He persisted in texting me for sex until I changed my number. I hope he finds his riches or a woman who believes in evolution. I doubt it though. He's probably still texting my old number, calling some poor soul an idiot and soliciting for sex. I don't care what he's doing, as long as it's not me. All I have to say is, so long, you arrogant douchebag. I hope your intelligence keeps you warm at night, or at least you learned how to be a decent human being. Side note, I lost that phone and deleted all the messages, but if I had known about this site before, I would have uploaded all the arrogant text messages he sent. Good riddance. Our next post for the day comes from Drifting Joy-Con. Entitled kid gets put in her place by her own grandmother. For a bit of context, the EK's grandmother is a saint. She is the nicest, sweetest person I've met. She loves to spoil us with delicious food. She is almost like a second mother to me, but her grandchild? Not so much. Since she's the first in her family to be born in the USA, she always brags about her beautiful English and her art skills. We are significantly older, so we don't really care about getting outdone by a 9-year-old in art class. We could put up with her bragging, but it all went to hell when we took a cabin trip to Oklahoma. She constantly bugged me to play on my Nintendo Switch. She always insisted on being the leader in hikes, and she even stole money from my friends' purses just to get some quick cash for a vending machine. She pinned the blame on me. I'm an easy target, being the only male in the friend group. But the straw that broke the camel's back was the hot tub incident. Again, we are all high schoolers. We are significantly older than EK. She begged to go into the hot tub. After we refused because we were talking about adult stuff, she threw the mother of all tantrums. She yelled so hard, Oklahoma City thought it was a tornado alarm. The parents rushed outside and witnessed EK slam dunk my friend's phone into the hot tub. I fished it out as quickly as I could, but when I resurfaced, chaos ensued. After 3 minutes of screaming and EK getting absolutely berated, her grandmother grabbed my friend's shoulder and said, "How much did that cost?" "About $1,000, I think." "EK, you know you have to pay half of that, right?" "EK, but I..." "Sell your toys and use your money from your birthday." EK is dumbfounded, walks away in shame, and my friend got a sweet upgrade for her iPhone. I love it when these stories have a nice little twist at the end. Normally the grandmother or the mother would be yelling at the girl for not getting in the hot tub with her, but this time it was the exact opposite. I like that. Our final post for the day comes from Anonymous7. Father tricks me into babysitting his kids for free. Gets mad when I say I won't do it again. This is my first Reddit post, so please bear with me. This might be a little long. I'm a super rambly person and a lot happened. This should probably go in r/EntitledParents, but I'm too new to post there, so here you go. Backstory. I've worked at a children's entertainment center since the week I turned 15. We do everything. Camp, parties, free play on the equipment, babysitting, etc. And I was involved in all aspects. I was 16 when this story happened, but I've always looked young for my age. Cast, EP, entitled parent, K1, kid 1, age 4, K2, kid 2, age 6, me, yours truly, and S, supervisor. I met one of the worst entitled parents I've met to date in the middle of the week near the middle of the summer. It was just before 6 p.m. on a weekday, and the weather outside was gorgeous, so it wasn't exactly peak hours for indoor playgrounds like the one I worked at, and our last customers had just left. Because of this, my supervisor decided it was a good time to take his break, give me his phone number, and headed out. Almost instantly, this man comes in with his 2 daughters. Entitled parent seemed like any normal dad at first, struggling to convince his 4-year-old that she had to take off her shoes before running into the playground, making a bunch of unfunny jokes that I politely pretended to laugh at, etc. So, I go into the check-in routine. It's policy to ask all parents if it's their kid's first time at our playground, so we know whether we need them to fill out waivers or go over the playground rules. Entitled parent seems surprised I'm asking and says, "Yeah, they actually do camp here. I think you were one of their counselors, right girls?" The kids don't really respond, and I'm pretty sure I've never met them before. We're a family-run chain, so our camps don't tend to get past 15 kids, so it's not hard for me to remember campers. We have another young girl who looks kind of like me who did camp the one week I wasn't there, so I assume maybe he's getting us mixed up and decide to play along and say, "Oh yeah, I think I might have," instead of wasting time explaining. I checked later and his kids are nowhere in our camp system. He pays and I get his kids set up to go in while we keep small talking when he goes, "Oh crap, I need to get food. They haven't had dinner yet," and starts trying to get his kids to come back out. He bought a day pass and would have been able to come back later, but getting small children to leave the giant playground they literally just started playing on is near impossible. Entitled parent looks defeated and says, "I know you don't normally do this, but since it's empty and you guys know us, would you be able to watch the girls for a little while I run out and grab something to eat? I just don't want to ruin their day and get them back into the car." Since we do offer babysitting that you have to set up in advance, we're not supposed to agree to watch people's kids if they're not here, but we all normally agree to watch them for a few minutes while parents run to the car or find parking. And since I know there's a plaza with several fast food restaurants so close that I can walk there, order, sit down and eat and walk back during my 30-minute break, and then I'm feeling guilty for maybe not recognizing his kids? I agree, but explain that it's not normal protocol, so he can't expect it to happen next time. I know I should have called my supervisor, but I got the job in the first place to try and deal with a severe anxiety disorder, and phones were still something I avoided at all costs. EP is super grateful and apologetic, so I get his phone number. He tells the girls he'll be right back and he leaves. I realize the second he's out the door that he left his phone on the desk, so if I needed to contact him, I wouldn't be able to. So I sprint outside, flag down his car, and get it back to him. He's super grateful again and mentions that he's going to go get coffee and asks if I want one. There's a Dunkin's right across the street from the food plaza, so I assume he's just making two stop and think nothing of it. 20 minutes go by. Entitled Parents' kids are still the only ones there, and Entitled Parents not back yet. Supervisor comes back from his break, asks me about the kids playing by themselves, and I explain the situation, that he left 20 minutes ago and should be back soon. He shrugs it off and starts doing paperwork. 30 minutes go by and he's not back yet, and we start to get worried, but rationalize it as him maybe eating before coming back instead of just picking up the food. His kids are asking me where their dad is, and I keep telling them he'll be back soon, but at that point, I'm not sure if I'm lying. Around the 40-minute mark, K1, 4, comes up and says that K2, 6, has a stomachache, which would make sense if they hadn't had dinner yet. I ask her if she's feeling nauseous or hungry, and if she needs to eat, and she says she's not sure, so I call the dad and explain the situation, asking if he'll be back soon, and saying that I didn't think he'd be taking that long. He apologizes and says he's almost done, and that he'll try to be back soon. 10 more minutes go by, and Entitled Parents still not back. Kid 1 is now complaining that they're hungry, and Kid 2 says she thinks eating would help her stomach. So I call him again and ask if it's okay if I give the kids snacks from the snack bar. He says to let them have as much as they want, and that he'll pay the tab when he gets back. I ask when he thinks that will be, and he says he's almost ready to check out. I'm confused and realize that my kids haven't had dinner yet, I need to quickly go get food, meant that this man intended to do his weekly grocery shopping. The nearest grocery store is at least a 15-minute drive away, and by the sound of it, he went even further to the organic market. At this point, I'm well aware that I've been taken advantage of, and am pissed. But I'm just a kid, and this is a grown adult, so I meekly explain that that's not what I thought he'd meant, and ask him to please get back as quickly as he can. I'm angry, so I deal with it the only way I can. I follow Entitled Parents' instructions and tell Kid 1 and Kid 2 that their dad said they could take as much from the snack bar as they want, making sure to point out the more expensive items and racking up his tab. Supervisor is aware of what's going on, but because he's awesome, he fully blames Entitled Parent and says he'll mention babysitting fees for me when he gets back, but won't charge him since he didn't sign up for it and we don't want to cause a problem. 15 more minutes go by, and at this point, he's been gone for over an hour. Kid 2 comes over to me starting to get upset because she's old enough to know that something's wrong and that her dad's been gone too long. I could sympathize because my own father did a lot of similar things, less maliciously, while I was younger, dropping me off for camp and coming back hours after they closed, picking me up late from school and expecting the teachers to watch me, consistently picking me up late from extracurricular and stuff like that because he had awful time management. I knew how it felt to be worried a parent had forgotten about you. So I dialed up her father and gave her the phone so she could talk to him, asking if she'd hand him off to me after. Kid 2 is crying into the phone, asking her dad when he's gonna come play with her, and he calms her down a little. She hands the phone to me and he says he's just finished checking out, so he has to run home first so the food doesn't all go bad, but he lives super close. At this point, I've just been told to try and avoid a confrontation, so I tell him to hurry up and go play with his kids. Entitled Parent comes back just before 7:30. We close at 8. I'd been with the girls when he showed up, so say, "Look who's here!" And both girls are ecstatic to see him. They run out to the lobby, rapid fire telling him about all the toys they found and trying to pull him in to see it. He kinda smiles and tells the girls to put their shoes back on and get ready to leave, and both them and I are confused. I have no idea why he'd need to stop home to put his food in the fridge if he was planning on popping in and out instead of coming to see his clearly upset daughters and the girls expecting him to play. Kid 2 starts bugging him about it, begging him to come play, and he yells at her, saying she called all upset, saying she wanted to leave, so that's what they're doing, and turns to me to confirm, saying I must have heard her, and I just kind of quietly say, "I'm pretty sure she just missed you and wanted you to come play," because I didn't want to lie, and he just kind of huffs and asks what his total on the snacks are. I get him set up to pay, and Supervisor steps in with a babysitting brochure, saying he understands that there was a misunderstanding, but just so Entitled Parent knows for the future, this is what that would normally cost, and we'd love to see his girls in our babysitting program. He flips out at this point, saying he'd told me he was going shopping, and Supervisor calmly tells him that he said getting food, food, not shopping. So I'd assumed he meant the fast food places next door. Keep in mind, we're not asking this guy to pay us any more money. He's going on and on about how good of a guy he is. I offered to buy her a coffee, didn't I? Tell him. And how he's pretty sure at some point on the phone he said he'd be an hour. I admit I might have missed that, but point out that it's been over an hour since he left just before 6 and got back at 7:30. He says I must be getting my times wrong because the girls had their swim lesson 2 doors down until 5:30, so there's no way he was here before 6, even though both Supervisor and I know he had to be, because if he actually came at 6:30, Supervisor would have been back from his break. To try to calm him down, I pull up the receipt from the last payment, 5:57 p.m. and he starts going on about how it must be wrong. We just want him gone before close at this point and need him to pay for his kids $14 worth of snacks, so kind of drop it and ask him to pay. He almost does, but then starts yelling about how he feels like we're calling him a bad parent, and he's not, and he wouldn't have done babysitting anyway because kid 2 is 6, she doesn't need a babysitter and she could watch kid 1. Oxymoronic, I know. And then starts trying to turn me and Supervisor against each other, saying, Supervisor is blaming you. How does that make you feel? To which Supervisor should say, no, I'm not. She didn't do anything wrong. Causing him to resort to trying to make it a race thing with Supervisor, Muslim, using the go-to, I don't know how things work where you're from, but at this point, I stop paying attention to him and find sticker books to go through with his now crying daughters, who were scared because of their screaming father. But he eventually pays and storms out, loudly proclaiming to his daughters, we won't be coming back here, girls, you better say goodbye. Which they did, and I smiled and waved back, which I think made him more mad. I truly don't get why awful customers think we'd be upset if they decide to take their awfulness somewhere else. So yeah, it's been a year and I'm still hesitant to even let parents run out to their cars without their kids now, so entitled parent kind of messed that up for them. But I'm honestly not that upset about the experience anymore. I was irrationally worried for a few weeks after, but overall, I feel like it taught me to be more assertive with customers and become a lot less of a doormat. I'm also super comfortable with answering the phone at work now because of how much I had to keep calling him that night, so thanks entitled parent. Now I'm better at my job, making sure people like you can't get away with crap like that anymore, and life in general. Well, alright my dashing dudes, that is going to do it for today's episode on r/entitled people. I hope you liked the stories. If you did, I'll leave them down in the description below so you can go take a look at them yourself. If you liked the video, go ahead and drop a sub, a like, and a comment down below what you'd like to see me read next. A gigantic thank you to everyone who has subscribed and liked in the past few weeks. You'll give me such honor to put these videos out for you guys, and it just honors me that you guys are in my dashing dudes. But with that being said, I will see you in the next video.